Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass. So, I keep getting asked to break down some of Victor Wooten's techniques on the channel, and well, that's a big ask because, as we all know, Victor is about as freakishly talented a bass player as you'll ever see, and pretty much everything that he plays ends up being stupidly hard to learn for us mere mortals. So today I'm going to give you some quick tips on a very specific move that he uses in pieces like Classical Thump that, with a little practice, can help with learning a lot of his other lines, and that can also help with your overall slap and double thumb technique in general. As always, the tab and sheet music is all there over at talkingbass.net. Just click that link in the info below. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Let me know if there are other Victor Wooten techniques or songs that you'd like covered here at Talkingbass. Then also remember to check out the free Talkingbass membership over at the website, where you'll find a whole community of over 100,000 bass players chatting in the forums and groups, as well as all the other learning resources and downloads like the scale reference manual ebook. Remember, it's all free, so just sign up today and join a great bass community. So, Victor Wooten's stupidly difficult Classical Thump begins with an outline of 3 simple chords: G major, C major, D7, and then he returns to G major. When Victor Wooten came on the scene, it was a very similar impact on the bass community to how Jaco Pastorius blew everyone away with his debut solo album. Hearing something like Classical Thump for the first time is similar to hearing Jaco's Donna Lee, in that it totally changes your view of what bass guitar is capable of. And just as Jaco inspired an army of imitators playing harmonics, fretless bass and bebop lines, so Victor influenced so many players that you now see using double thumb, tap and strum techniques in what you can only really describe as a Wooten way. Double thumbing is something I've dabbled in, I've practiced it, but never really felt totally comfortable with. I would say I can do it, but I don't use it very often. But during the time that I've spent practicing it, I have noticed there are a few moves that he does that you can practice in isolation that really help with the overall technique. This very simple move in Classical Thump is one of them. So the move looks like this. Okay, just those 3 notes. So if we look at a G note here at the 3rd fret of the E string, the move will involve slapping the open string with the downstroke, hammering the G there with one of the fingers on the hand, and then slapping the G again, but with an upstroke. And that's all there is to it. So played slow, it doesn't sound very interesting at all. But if I just play up and down a G major arpeggio using that technique, it sounds a lot more impressive. So if you've never played double thumb technique at all, then you really need to start there first. I've got a few videos devoted to double thumbing that I'll link to in the info below, but the main thing that you have to be aware of is that double thumbing is actually more like playing with a pick than it is like conventional slapping. The way many players learn to slap is with a bounce, like this. With double thumbing, you have to think of the thumb as more of a pick, so we have a downstroke and an upstroke. The most useful tip that I can give for you is to think of the slap as being a rest stroke, just like when we pluck. So try slapping the thumb through the string, coming to rest on the next string. So I'm slapping through that E string there and coming to rest with the thumb on the A string. Hence the term rest stroke. So I'm coming to rest on the next string. So there's no bounce at all. I'm slapping through and down. Once you've completed a rest stroke, you're in position to play the upstroke. So I'm here with the thumb on the A string there, just bring the thumb back out, catching the string with the outside edge of the thumbnail. Now, I've always had problems with this aspect of the technique because of my short thumbnail, but with a little practice and experimentation of the thumb angle, you should be able to get a fairly good upstroke. Keep the hand and the thumb fairly relaxed and use more of an arm action in creating the stroke. The more conventional bounce is all done with a rotation of the forearm. So that's all rotary. The double thumb is more of an up, down, in, out kind of action with the arm. So now let's try that Victor Wooten move again. So again, open string, slap down with that rest stroke, hammer with the index finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and then upstroke. And that's the move. And just try it round and round. So you start out really, really slow just so you can get the coordination here and then build up speed. And I guarantee that as you try building up speed, it's going to get all messy. So once it starts to get messy, slow down. Get it down at a much slower tempo. And as you know, even if it's just this, or even slower, then very slowly build up speed. So once you have this action down, you can start to move around a little. So let's try a simple G major arpeggio. So that's going to be G, B, and D. 3rd fret E string, 2nd fret and 5th fret on the A string. Just up and down. So when we apply the Victor Wooten technique to this, we're going to have so we're using the open A string obviously on the B and the D there. And you can tell when I'm playing really slowly, you can hear how those open strings don't really blend particularly well with the arpeggio. I mean, they're okay, they are in key, they're kind of in G major, but once you speed up, it becomes more of a ghost note action. So you don't really think about the notes that you're hearing in the open strings. You're just focusing on, you're just concentrating on those notes, the notes of the arpeggio. So again, start out really, really slow with that arpeggio. And then you could try adding another root note there up at the octave. So we move on to the D string. So we're going to hit that G at the 5th fret of the D string. So we have. Once you feel comfortable playing the arpeggio, you can start to apply it to any musical ideas that you like. So for instance, we could try playing a G major scale. Or you could move up and down through that scale in 2 octaves. So once you feel comfortable with that technique, you can have a go at the opening line of Classical Thump. Like I said, it's just outlining the chords G major, C major, and D7. So I'll just run through what the notes are in there, and I'll just cover the actual fretted notes rather than all the open strings, because you can add those in yourself. And the best way to learn this is to actually learn that opening line of the piece, because he just outlines that with the left hand, without any of this hoopla in the right hand. So if I just work through what those notes are, we've got G, D, G, B, G, B, G, D for that first line. So that's this G bar chord kind of affair. So 3rd fret E string, 5th fret on the A and D string, and then the 4th fret for the B up on the G string, and we just work up. We play that B and the G twice, and then finish off with that D. So play that any way you want just to get those notes down. Then for the second chord we have C major, which we outline as C, G, C. So 3rd fret A string and then 5th fret on the D and the G string, so like an extended power chord. So once we've reached the top, we play B, C, B, and then come down the C major scale. B, A, G. Then for the D7, which starts as a D11, we have, which is all 5th fret on the A, D, and G strings to begin with. And then we just move back and forth between the C and the F sharp. So that's going to be 5th fret on the G string and the 4th fret on the D string. So across those. And then we're back to our original G major. So that's the 4 chords there. So now if we add in the double thumb move, we get the following. And then instead of moving back to the original G chord, we have this G major scale descent on the G string. Okay, which is pretty tricky if you're when you're not used to the move, and I still find this tricky every time I get to it. So just start out really, really slowly and just gradually start to build up speed. Now, like I said, I'm no expert in double thumbing by any stretch of the imagination. I'm okay, I can kind of do it, you know, I practice it a little bit, and, you know, I'm working on this kind of technique, but, you know, I still find classical thump really, really difficult. And, you know, this kind of thing, I'm still probably not up to the, not cleanly up to the speed of someone like Victor Wooten, but, you know, it's something to practice. And like I said, if you practice this technique in isolation and just move it around, it makes actually working on classical thump a lot easier. Okay, so that's a little advice on learning the Victor Wooten classical thump technique. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see any other Victor Wooten lines. And remember, the lesson material and tracks are all there over at the Talkingbass website. Just click the link in the info below. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel and sign up to the Talkingbass network and membership to gain access to a massive community of like-minded bass players and a ton of bass practice resources and downloads. Okay, I'll see you next week.